For a long time, I kept asking, why is this happening to me? And that question, it kept me broken. It wasn't just one moment, it was a pattern. Every time life handed me something I didn't choose, something that didn't match the plan or didn't fit the picture I had of how I thought things were supposed to go, I responded in the same way. When I got another infection, when I found out about my husband's infidelity, when I was fired from my job, each time, without fail, the same question came rushing in. Why is this happening to me? Why me? What did I do to deserve this? And what that looked like for me, like what that actually looked like in the day to day, because I don't think we talk about this part honestly enough. For me, it looked like staying in bed, sometimes for like the whole day or until I had to pick up my kids at least from school. It looked like crying until I was empty and then crying some more. It looked like closing myself off from life and from reality because reality became too painful to be in. It looked like replaying everything again and again, replaying that tape in my mind, looking for the moment I could have stopped it or changed it or just somehow made it different. That perpetual endless rumination. And underneath all of it, there was a belief that I didn't even realize I was holding. I am a victim. I am a victim of my circumstances. And I want to say this feeling of being a victim, this is not a character flaw or a weakness. It's a wound, a very old one that I now know has been with me since I was a child. And it's a very human one to have. It was modeled for me by my mother and then became a part of me and who I was. So if it's something that's a part of you too, I see you and there's nothing wrong with you for going there. I went there too, over and over, and I still do sometimes. I also want to tell you what I learned about that place. Why is this happening to me? It feels like a question, but it isn't. It's a cage because why demands an answer that life is never going to give you. You can ask it 1,000 times. You can replay the timeline, assign the blame, trace it all the way back to the moment that it went wrong, and you will get more spinning, more pain, more of the exact same ground beneath your feet, and still no real answers. Because why looks backwards? It keeps you inside the wound, circling around it, carrying it in that backpack, waiting for an explanation that isn't coming. It keeps you locked in that cage. And while you're waiting, life keeps on moving, but you stay exactly where you are. At one point, I was listening to a talk by Caroline Mize called Energy Anatomy. And she was teaching about the spiritual nature of our hardest experiences, our dark night of the souls, you could call them. And it made me realize that what I was going through was not a punishment. Yes, it was so unbelievably hard. And no, I did not want to be experiencing it. Thank you very much. But still, it was not a punishment. It was an invitation. Even Viktor Frankl, who survived the most horrible of horrors in concentration camps during the Holocaust, and later wrote the incredible book you probably know called Man's Search for Meaning. Even after going through such an abominably terrifying and inhumane experience, one that's so hard to talk about, even now because it was so awful, he came out of that and told us that meaning is found in the darkest places. I've since read the same thing over and over again from spiritual teachers across wisdom traditions. Even in the oldest stories in the Bible, like Jonah and the whale, where Jonah resists his calling, gets literally swallowed by darkness, and then, only then, in that place of total surrender, cries out to God for help. They're all saying the same thing. It doesn't help to ask why. Instead, ask what. What am I meant to learn from this? Because we're going to experience challenges and pain no matter what we do. It's just part of being a human. We don't get to choose what happens to us. But as Frankl says, the one freedom no one can ever take away from you is the freedom to choose how you respond to what happens to you. I do think, though, that this is something that only someone who has gone through some seriously lifey life stuff truly knows. And once you do, it's like you become a part of this secret club that's whispering this message around to each other. Certainly, I had to go through it to really learn it for myself. Because even my functional medicine doctor told me this at one point. I was sitting in her office. We were going through my blood work, listing out all my symptoms. And she looked at me and said, "Before you do anything else, I want you to think about what you're meant to learn from all this." Okay. This question is everywhere, in the wisest people, in the oldest teachings. It was just waiting for me to be ready to hear it. And maybe it's been waiting for you too. I do want to be honest with you about something, though. This is not a one-time switch. Like, I didn't realize this and all of a sudden stop spiraling. There were days, many days, there still are days where why me comes rushing back in. It can just be so automatic. And like, you don't even have the brain space for another question to come in. So I learned that it is a practice. Are we surprised that it's a practice? No, we are not surprised. You catch yourself asking why, you notice it, and then gently, with so much compassion and love for yourself, you ask the other question instead. What am I meant to learn from this? And here's how I learned to hear the answer. I found that the answer doesn't come from thinking harder, and it doesn't come from analyzing or replaying or trying to figure it out in that big old monkey brain of ours. It comes from getting quiet. For me, that looked like finding stillness, most of the time in the morning, before the noise of the rest of the day arrived. Sometimes meditating or journaling, sometimes just sitting with a cup of tea in the garden and having no agenda. Sometimes walking, moving my body, breathing into the pain instead of away from it. Mostly, though, it was being open and listening to that voice inside, your deep inner knowing. Call it God, call it the divine, universe, your true self, whatever resonates with you. It's that place where truth lives in you. Sometimes the knowing came quickly. Sometimes it came slowly. And sometimes I realized that the answer was already in me all along. I just needed to get quiet enough to hear it. Now, what happens when you start asking that question? I want to say this carefully and with so much love, because if you are deep in something right now, I know how far away this can sound. So I'm not asking you to feel this yet. I'm just asking you to consider it. When I stopped asking why and started asking what I was meant to learn, things changed for me. I stopped being someone things were happening to, and I became someone who things were happening for. I became someone moving through her life with intention, with meaning, with power, and with a slowly building trust that somehow all of this was working for me, not against me. The infection, my body had been whispering to me for years. This was it yelling at me. And learning to listen to it really finally has changed my relationship with myself completely for the better. The infidelity, devastating. but it cracked open truths where before there were lies. And that set something free in me, finally knowing what was real. The firing, it forcibly removed me from a life that I had been performing, not living. Losing it gave me the freedom to get back to myself. I realize this may seem overwhelming and perhaps even make you feel angry. I totally get it. I'm not saying that I'd call any of what I've been through a gift. Maybe I will at some point in the future, but I'm not quite there yet. Still in the middle of it. What I am saying is that on the other side of all of these things, when I got quiet enough to be fully present in them, to let them all belong, and to ask what I was meant to learn, I found something I did not expect. I found myself. And I also found that these challenges, all of it, it was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of the truest, most alive version of it. The dark night of the soul doesn't have to be a dead end. It can be a door. And I genuinely believe from everything that I have lived and everything that I have learned that your hard season could be the very thing guiding you to your biggest, most alive life yet. Transformation is the natural result of asking, what am I meant to learn from this? It cracks light open and lets the light come shining in again. Not in spite of what you're going through, but because of it. You don't have to wait for life to explain itself to you. You are allowed to put down the question that has been keeping you in place. You are allowed to pick up a new one to move you forward, not as a way of bypassing your pain, but as a way of moving through it with your eyes and your heart open. Give it a try and ask, what am I meant to learn from this? Get quiet enough to hear the answer. Trust that it's already in you. And let your answer be a catalyst for you to meet the life that's meant for you. If trusting that inner voice feels hard right now, if you're not sure you can believe what you hear, I made another video about exactly that. It's called How to Trust Yourself Again. This was something that I've been needing to learn for myself as well. I'll put the link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. I've also made you a free guide. If you're in a hard season right now and you want something real to hold on to, something written from inside of the experience, not from the other side where everything is rainbows and unicorns, this guide was made for exactly that moment. It's called 10 Lessons I Had to Live to Learn. And I'll put this link in the description below as well. And if this video resonated with you today, I would really love to know. Subscribe to my channel. That's the best way for you to let me know that this resonated with you. Or leave me a comment below and tell me, which question have you been living in? Until next time, be good to yourself.